This is Channel 7 WLS-TV, Chicago.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much. I'm Oprah Winfrey, and this morning we are talking about the triumph of the human spirit. We're talking about some real victories here. Let me explain, because in our studio this morning is a small army of ordinary people just like you and me. The only difference is that they have been face-to-face with a very real enemy. Many of them have won the battle, but some are still fighting. And that enemy is cancer. And later in the show, we're going to talk with the University of Illinois cancer specialist, and we'll share the cancer success stories and struggles of our AM audience. But first, 2 triumphs, 2 successes over cancer. In 1975, Janet Baldwin was told that the lump she found in her groin was Hodgkin's disease. And Frank Dini was told that he had a 4% chance to live when doctors discovered lung cancer. But both overcame. You're victors today. Welcome to AM Chicago.
Thank you.
You were in the doctor's office, Frank.
Yes, I was.
The doctor comes out and says...
Well, he says, Frank, we've really got to check something out. There's a mass that's showing up on our x-ray, which I really don't like. In this type of situation, I don't want to frighten you, but it can very well be a tumor or a malignant tumor. And the fact that my physician knew I had smoked, he says, we should check it out.
How much did you smoke, Frank?
I was then smoking 3 packs of Lucky Strikes, non-filtered, per day. Yeah.
Did you never read the warning label that this can cause...
Oh, that's for all the rest of those guys out there.
That's for the rest of the guys?
Oh, yeah, Frank.
So you never thought it could happen to you?
Can't get Frank.
Yeah.
Okay. At that point, I still wouldn't accept the diagnosis or the possible diagnosis of a lung cancer. And my physician being...
What'd you think it was?
Tuberculosis. I asked the doctor, actually, what could it be other than lung cancer? And he had a list.
So you're not like most people, that every time there's a lump, there's a sore, there's anything, they think cancer. You thought anything else but.
I didn't believe it.
Because the Luckies couldn't get you. Okay.
That's right. They can't get Frank. And then he says, well, we'll take more x-rays. And we actually put myself in isolation in the hospital in a TB situation, saying, well, this is the greatest possibility. And there was a surgeon that my personal physician had asked to come in and speak to me. And we were talking, and in the course of the conversation, he asked me, he says, Frank, have you ever smoked? Because I wasn't smoking at the time. I says, oh, yeah, up until last month. And he says, what did you smoke? I says, well, 3 packs of Luckies a day. He says, let's stop fooling around. Let's go down to a biopsy of this thing. He says, because the chances are 90-10, this is a malignant tumor. It has all the characteristics, and you don't have a lot of choices. You have speed is of the essence. And I says, fine, we'll do the testing.
How'd you react then, Frank?
I still didn't believe it.
Still didn't believe it.
I says,
what
we'll
was your reaction when the test proved to be malignant? The doctor says you have a 4% chance of living.
Again, I wanted more information. I really couldn't accept that Frank had a 4% chance of surviving.
You weren't devastated? You weren't frightened?
Oh, I was angry.
You were angry?
I was terribly angry.
Were you angry at yourself?
No.
You weren't angry with yourself in those Lucky Strikes? No?
I was angry at the cigarette industry, all the people around me that allowed me. How can my parents allow me to smoke cigarettes? You know, it's terrible. What's wrong with everybody? I had all these opportunities. You blame everyone but yourself. And then it's just no acceptance at all. I did not accept the diagnosis as being fatal.
Janet.
Yes.
Were you more accepting?
Well, the first question I asked my physician was, are you sure that pathologist report was correct?
What happened? You were getting dressed one morning, or you discovered what happened?
Well, as I was lying in bed one evening, I rest my hands on my hips, and I found a lump in my groin area. And I went to my doctor, and we checked it over, and he thought perhaps it was an infection manifesting itself in an enlarged lymph node. So we watched it for a couple of weeks, and we finally decided we should have a biopsy. So I went in for a biopsy, and we discovered, of course, it was Hodgkin's disease.
And your reaction was?
Learning to talk about it, first of all. I think the first 2 people I told about it, the tears were streaming down my cheeks.
You didn't talk about it for a while, didn't you? You ignored the fact for a week, right?
No, I began to talk about it very early, getting over this first emotional part of it. And then as I began to talk about it more and more to other people, then I could do it without crying. And then I began to decide that, well, this is something I'm going to have to cope with.
What is the worst part about being told?
Well, you've suddenly gone from being a relatively healthy person to on your way to becoming a statistic. You know, you're reading about all the statistics for
Do you
cancer.
suddenly become ill, feel ill? Do you suddenly notice your health deteriorating? Are you suddenly more conscious of your body?
Oh, sure.
You are?
You're more conscious of what's going to happen to it.
Do you think in terms of your mortality? Do you think this is it?
Instantly, you think of your mortality. I think it's the first real realization
That you're gonna
I
die.
had that, hey, I could die. It's possible.
That's right.
And you never really face that. All sorts of situations come up.
When did you cry, Frank?
When did I cry?
Yeah.
Well, every day for about a week.
Every day for about a week.
Yeah, I said.
That's when you realized the Luckies had, or whatever.
Oh, I
that
said,
the
poor
kid-
Frank.
Poor Frank.
And well, who could do this to me? What a nice guy. You know, and actually, my dad had the best thing. He says, he was trying to console me, and he says, you know, I wouldn't worry a lot about it. He says, you were too ornery to grow tall. He says, you're too mean to die. He says, so stop feeling sorry
So what
for
happened?
yourself.
Did you start treatment or what? What happened?
No, I made preparations for surgery. There was no treatment. As it stood, the way the tumor was, there was no treatment other than surgery.
How big was it?
It was, again, the size of a small, like a bird's egg type situation, and then there was some mass around it. It was encapsulated.
Did you make a conscious decision that I'm going to live, I'm going to lick this?
Oh, yes.
Or were you thinking in terms of, when this was diagnosed, that everybody dies from cancer?
No, quite the contrary. I said, as I did with the Luckies, I guess it's an attitude that you have from youth on. This gets everyone else, but it's not going to get me.
You believe that. Did you believe that, Janet?
Yes, I started very early with nurturing a very positive attitude because I had lots to live for, and I thought, gee, this just is not going to get me down. I'm going to really fight this.
Did
and
you
it
think
takes
about
a lot of energy?
I didn't mean to interrupt, but do you think about the statistics? I just read that 72,000 people this month, 72,500, this is predicted by the Cancer Society, that's the average, will be
Yes.
told this month they have cancer. By the end of the year, there will be 148,000 people dead.
Sure, that's overwhelming. The
Yeah.
whole picture is overwhelming for a while, and then you get down to making options, things you want to talk about, things you want to center your energy onto, and of course the statistics do come up, and your doctor tries to assure you. I think they use those as much as they can because they were experiencing some success with treatment for Hodgkin's disease, and that was definitely in my favor.
When we come back, we'll be joined by a cancer specialist and hear some personal success stories from our AM audience. Beating Cancer this morning on AM Chicago. Back in a minute. Joining us now in AM Chicago is Dr. Donald Wood, who's a cancer specialist from the Surgical Oncology Clinic at the University of Illinois. He's devoted the last 10 years of his practice to the study of cancer. Welcome, Doctor.
Good to be here.
What are the odds of beating it? We're talking with an audience of people today who beat it, success stories. What are the odds if you're diagnosed today
Well,
with having
for every individual, it's 100 or nothing. There's no odds of making it halfway or not. But overall, the success rate is about 33 to 40%.
which is a lot better than 10 years ago or 5 years ago?
It's even better than obesity.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. I have to ask you, Frank, how long ago were you diagnosed?
3.5 years ago.
3.5 years.
Yes.
Is there always the fear that it'll come back? There'll be a little...
Yes, there's always the fear that it can come back.
You don't
Always.
smoke anymore, though.
I sacrificed one lung. I figured that's enough.
So you had that, right. And you, Janet, do you fear that one day you're going to wake up and there's another lump someplace?
Well, for a while, it's you experience the feeling of, let's say, waiting for the other shoe to drop for those first months and first few years.
It's been 9
afterwards.
years, though, for you now, right?
And then you begin to feel more comfortable about it. Cancer patient is never quite the same after this experience.
Why?
But boy, do you ever put things into perspective, and you celebrate
celebrate?
life.
I hear another celebrator here. Hello.
Hi, my name's Mallory, and when I was 2 years old, my mom was giving me a bath, and she saw through my eye my tumor. And they panicked, but they acted real fast. And it's a childhood disease, and it's supposed to be terminal, but if you make it to 13, you make it. And I made it.
How old are you?
20.
20! Yay!
Fantastic.
That's great.
Our daughter is going through examinations right now because it is genetic, and even though she's only 4 months old, we're looking for it.
What was it? Was it
Retinoblastoma, which is in the eye, but they just let me know last week that she doesn't have the chromosome that carries it, which is great news.
This is great news. Thank you very much. And you, I heard you amen and back here, the amen corner. Hi.
Hi, I'm Ramona. I found out 5 years ago I had Hodgkin's, and the one thing that really helped me through it was, well, the family. I mean, we all supported each other, and I had a very big faith in God, and He brought me through it.
You're all smiling now and saying, yes, amen, this is wonderful, this is fabulous, but there were some difficult times.
There were, yes.
And the most difficult times were when?
Well, I was worried about my son because I found out I was 6.5 months pregnant when I had it, and it has cesarean delivery, and he's a healthy 5-year-old. And I was worried about if something happens to me, what will happen to my kids. But I prayed a lot, and I had a lot of prayers, and I liked it.
What about people, thank you, who don't have the support of their family? I understand that many times when you have it, your family becomes fearful of you. I mean, it's like they think they're going to get it. Your friends don't come around as much anymore. Does anybody relate to that? You can relate to that? Stand up, come on over here. Hi there. Hi.
Yes, my husband was fear of it with me. I have Hodgkin too. I was just told in September that I have it. I have a Hickman cap that's inserted in me now. I have 8 months to go on the chemotherapy before I'm actually cured. My husband and I still don't relate because he's scared to be near me at times. I don't know why. My doctor have to talk with him now. It's a mental thing, but we're making it too.
And how does that affect you?
Well, I just pray a lot. That's all I can do. I just try to keep my faith, and it does affect me mentally, but I don't let it bother me.
Janet, you said you had the support of your family. Was that a problem, though, that you sometimes your husband, your family feels like, mostly I think it's that they don't know what to say or what to feel, right?
My name is Beverly Snyder. I was operated on 5.5 years ago for breast cancer and a year ago. I work with a lot of cancer patients. I think the most important thing is the responsibility that you, as a person with cancer, takes, both for your condition and setting the pace with your family and friends. I had many people who cried, and I told them, don't cry. I'm not dead. Don't bury me yet. You have to make it comfortable. You open the door. It's a strange disease. A lot of people still think it's highly contagious.
You asked them not to cry. Did you ever cry?
No.
You never cried?
I have never cried.
Not once did you cry?
Not once.
Why?
I'm very secure in myself as a person. And I was 48 years old. I had a good family life. And a breast is not going to make or change my personality. I am still who I am.
Bravo for you. Bravo for you. For those people, though, Janet, who right now are watching, who today or last September or last month were told they had the big C.
Right.
I want you to look into our camera now and tell them what you feel. Tell them how to react, what they should be thinking, how to get through this.
Well, I would first of all say that you would devote all of your energies to developing some kind of a very, very positive attitude. And it does take a lot of energy, and it does take support from the family. At night, when you say to yourself, I cannot go through this treatment tomorrow, and my husband would put his arms around me and say, you got through today, you're going to get up in the morning, you're going to eat the oatmeal, go take the treatment, and get through tomorrow.
Does a positive attitude make a difference, Doctor?
Absolutely.
It does?
I think it makes winners out of us all.
Can you kill yourself? Can you
think
kill
so.
yourself by being negative about it?
Very much so.
Can you heal yourself by being positive about it?
Probably. Yes.
Everybody's
there's,
saying yes, yes, yes. Back in a moment with more victories on AM Chicago. We're talking about beating cancer with an audience of of victors this morning, and you, during the commercial break, were shouting.
My name is Bonnie, and I just want to tell all of you, if you have cancer, think positive, fight this thing, you can lick it. We did.
What can families do? Thank you, Bonnie.
Families can support, friends can support, and don't be afraid to say the word cancer.
Yeah, this young woman here was saying something too. The problem is what? You were saying that nobody wants to talk about it or cry.
Yes, I found that most people, they didn't know what to say to you. They didn't know how to say anything to you. And just come on out and say, hey, how do you feel? You know, is anything wrong? But I found them, they couldn't speak.
You said you yourself could not even cry.
I could not cry. I just could not bring myself to cry. It took me about 2 weeks after the surgery before I decided to cry. And if I had to do that again, I would never do that. I would cry, I would scream, I would yell.
Why do you think you didn't cry?
I think I went into shock. I think I just froze. Because when I went up for surgery, they could not do the surgery. They had to send me back down because subconsciously I was rejecting the surgery. They could not incubate me, so I had to go back to my room and be rescheduled the next day.
Someone said, you said earlier that thank you very much, that you're never the same, that it changes your life. I wanted you to address that for me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Are you the same?
I'm the same, much more the same. And I get the feeling from these people here, these are a bunch of fighters, and that's what you need. You need a bunch of fighters and your family.
And your family? Has your family been supportive?
Very much so.
Very much so. How difficult has it been for you? I mean, Janet tells us that she cried some. Some people say they didn't cry at all. Have you cried?
I think I did once or twice this time. First time I was 14 years ago with melanoma with Dr. Scoopta at the U of I. And in fact, Dr. Woods removed a cyst from my back. And then this last year, in '83, it came back. And it was small.
Is that not devastating, though? Is that not overwhelming?
Really spooky.
When you think you've licked it, 14 years have passed, you're going on with your life, your family, and then it's there again.
Dr. Scoopta gives me so much courage that I just walked in that hospital, and when he told me it had to be again, I went home for the weekend, and then I went back, and we did it.
You people are so courageous here. Do you not feel sorry for yourself ever? Yeah. You cannot?
You cannot take time to...
Do you not think about death? Do you not think, do you not think about planning the funeral and the flowers and who's going to be there? You don't do that?
That's the last thing. That is the last thing, and you could leave that for somebody else to do.
For somebody else to do. Frank, during that... Yeah, you wanted to stand up and say something. Hi there. Thank you very much.
My name is Evelyn. My lymphoma sarcoma was detected in September of 1975. And I lost two friends that I had known for 10 years. My husband was very, very reluctant to come near me. And I was like in a state of semi-somnambulism. I slept every time I had to take a chemotherapy. They had to come out and wake me up. And it took me quite a long time to wake myself up. And then I start thinking objectively.
I hear horror stories.
Through me alone.
I hear horror stories, though, about chemotherapy. How bad is it? Is it as bad as we've heard?
It's horrible. Because I never thought I would make it from the one time to the next. And I had difficulty with small rolling veins. And they had a terrible time getting the needle in. And it was the worst period of my whole life. But after the chemotherapy, I decided that I'm going to think objectively. And my doctor said, Evelyn must be getting better because she's smiling and we don't have to wake her up anymore.
That's great. Chemotherapy, we've heard a lot about chemotherapy, radiation treatment, and so forth. Are there new discoveries in the treatment of cancer?
There are new discoveries all of the time, and the whole picture of chemotherapy, for instance, for breast cancer is changing radically, and there'll be new changes consistently. So it's a very hopeful area.
Very hopeful area. Thank you. Stand up, please. Hi.
My name is Eve Todd, and I'm here with my husband, Jack Todd, who I think has a very fantastic story to tell.
Come on, Jack. Stand up, tell this story.
I think that we've heard about chemotherapy and radiation and such. I believe that you should understand that there are other alternatives, and such as PMA is also great. Also, you have to understand that diet and the manifestations of your physical self are important. I have followed a macrobiotic regime for a year and a half, and I have beaten a prostate cancer, metastasized to my entire skeletal system. I was going to be dead in 6 months. I'm totally cured. I have the bone scans to prove it. And I think that if you want to get more information about this, why, there's a foundation. It's the Block Foundation and MII in Evanston. And I'd be happy to give anyone the information later.
Thank you very much. Back in a moment. More stories. You wanted to say?
Okay, don't ever lose hope. No matter how hopeless it is, you've got to hang in there and you've got to fight with everything you've got if you're going to make it.
If you're going to make it. You were saying some of the same things. Step up here just 1 second.
Oh, yeah, I'm Lucy Wilson. I say hang in there, follow your doctor, take your chemotherapy, your radiation therapy, whatever, and you will outlive some of the others that are out there on the street. I've done it, honey. I had it for 4 years, so have faith and hang in there.
Have faith and hang in there. I must salute my salute. If I had a hat, I would take it off to all of you. I only have a few seconds, and Frank, you wanted a few closing things to say here.
I think in summary, what the whole group is trying to tell everyone out there is that there are two approaches. You can quit, or you can say, hey, I'm taking charge of my life right now. And I can survive, I can do the things necessary. There are several, holistic medicine, there are several different approaches. But I'm taking charge of my life and I'm going to be here. And that is the positive approach. That is the approach that one has to have. You heard it from all of these people here. They're survivors. They
Thank you
survive because they
all.
believe.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you all for being here. It's good to have you here. See you tomorrow at AM Chicago with Dexter from Dynasty.